Stop scrolling for just a moment. Yes, you. This message is not here by accident, and neither are you. Out of all the videos you could have watched today, out of all the voices competing for your attention, somehow you found yourself here at this exact moment. You may think it was random. You may think it was coincidence. But deep inside, something is telling you otherwise. That feeling in your chest right now, that quiet pull that made you stop, that is not chance. That is heaven reaching for you. My child, before you lose hope completely, before you convince yourself that nothing will ever change, before you decide that your prayers no longer matter, I need you to hear me. I sent this message before your faith disappeared. I sent this message before the weight became too heavy. I sent this message before you walked away from the very breakthrough you have been praying for. The enemy has been whispering lies into your mind. He has been telling you that you are forgotten, that your situation will never improve, that your tears have gone unnoticed, that your waiting has been meaningless. But those whispers are not the truth. The truth is that heaven has been watching every step you have taken, every sleepless night, every silent tear, every prayer you spoke through trembling lips, every moment you wanted to quit but somehow found the strength to keep going. I saw it all, and I am speaking now because you are closer than you realize. You have been asking for a sign. You have been asking if I still hear you. You have been asking if I still have a plan for your life. This message is your answer. Not tomorrow. Not someday. Right now. There are things happening behind the scenes that you cannot see. Doors are moving. Chains are breaking. Paths are being prepared. What looked like delay was not abandonment. What felt like silence was not absence. Even while you questioned me, I was working. Even while you cried, I was arranging things in your favor. Even while you thought nothing was happening, heaven was moving. My beloved, do not click away. Stay with me for a little longer, because what I am about to reveal may explain every battle you have fought, every door that closed, every season of waiting that nearly broke your heart. There is a reason you survived what should have destroyed you. There is a reason you are still here. There is a reason this message found you today. The chapter you are standing in is not the end of your story. The darkness you see around you is not the final scene. Something is shifting. Something is awakening. Something that was written long before you were born is beginning to unfold. And before this message is over, you will understand why heaven refused to let you lose hope. My beloved child, there is something I need you to understand. I saw the battle you never told anyone about. I saw the tears you wiped away before anyone could notice. I saw the smile you forced when your heart was breaking. I saw the moments when you said, "I'm fine," even though everything inside you was screaming for help. The people around you saw your strength, but I saw your exhaustion. They saw your appearance, but I saw your wounds. They heard your words, but I heard the cries hidden beneath them. There were nights when you lay awake staring into the darkness, carrying burdens too heavy to explain. You replayed conversations in your mind. You questioned decisions. You worried about the future. You wondered how much longer you could keep going. And still, you carried on. You showed up when you felt empty. You kept moving when you felt weak. You continued believing even when doubt was knocking at the door of your heart. I saw every moment of it. I was there when anxiety wrapped itself around your thoughts. I was there when fear whispered that nothing would ever change. I was there when disappointment made you question whether your prayers were making it past the ceiling. You felt alone, but you were never alone. Not for a single second. Even when the room felt empty, I was there. Even when no phone call came, I was there. Even when nobody understood what you were carrying, I understood. You have spent so much time trying to be strong for everyone else. You carried responsibilities that drained you. You carried worries that stole your peace. You carried expectations that were never meant to define your worth. And little by little, the weight became heavier than anyone realized. There were moments when you wanted to give up. Moments when you wondered if anyone would even notice how much you were struggling. Moments when you asked me in the silence, "Lord, do you see what I'm going through?" My child, this is my answer. Yes, I saw it all. I saw every silent prayer. I saw every act of faith. I saw every time you chose not to quit. I saw every battle you fought inside your own mind. Some of your greatest victories were never celebrated by the world because they happened in secret. The world did not see you choosing faith over fear. The world did not see you getting out of bed when depression told you not to. The world did not see you continuing to trust after disappointment. But heaven saw it, and heaven recorded every moment. You thought nobody understood the pressure you were under. You thought nobody noticed how tired you had become. You thought your pain was invisible, but nothing about your life has been invisible to me. I counted every tear. I heard every sigh. I listened to every prayer spoken through trembling lips. Even the prayers you could not put into words reached me. The battles that almost broke you did not escape my attention. The heartbreak that left scars on your soul did not go unnoticed. The betrayal that shattered your trust was seen. The disappointment that left you confused was seen. The loneliness that followed was seen. I know there were times when you felt forgotten, times when it seemed like everyone else was moving forward while you remained stuck, times when you watched others receive answers while your own prayers appeared delayed. You wondered why. You questioned my timing. You struggled to understand what I was doing. But through it all, I never stopped watching over you. I never stopped protecting you. I never stopped loving you. And what you called survival was actually evidence of my presence. Because there were moments when you should have fallen apart completely. There were moments when the pressure should have crushed you. There were moments when the darkness should have overcome you. Yet somehow, you made it through. Not because you were strong enough on your own, but because I was carrying you. The reason you are still here today is not luck. It is not coincidence. It is not chance. It is grace. And now, before I reveal what comes next, I need you to remember this truth. The battle you never told anyone about was never fought alone. I was with you in every tear. I was with you in every storm. I was with you in every sleepless night. And what you survived was not the end of your story. It was preparation for the chapter that is about to begin. My beloved child, there is a truth you have struggled to understand for a long time. Many of the things that hurt you most were not signs that I had left you. They were signs that I was protecting you. I know that may be difficult to believe, because when the door closed, it felt like rejection. When the relationship ended, it felt like loss. When the opportunity disappeared, it felt like failure. When the prayer remained unanswered, it felt like silence. You interpreted those moments as evidence that I was absent, but I was closer than you realized. There were seasons when you begged me to open a door that I deliberately kept closed. You cried over opportunities that never happened. You mourned relationships that slipped away. You questioned why certain people walked out of your life. You wondered why things seemed to fall apart just when you thought they were finally coming together. You saw disappointment. I saw danger. You saw rejection. I saw redirection. You saw a closed door. I saw a path that would have led you away from your purpose. There are things I protected you from that you still do not know about. Conversations you never heard. Situations you never entered. Mistakes you never made. Traps you never saw. Battles you never had to fight because my hand was already covering you. Many times you asked me why. Why did that person leave? Why did that opportunity disappear? Why did the plan fail? Why did the dream seem to die? And while you were asking those questions, I was quietly working behind the scenes. Because I could see what was ahead. I could see the pain hidden behind the opportunity. I could see the heartbreak hidden behind the relationship. I could see the burden hidden behind the blessing you were chasing. And because I love you, I refused to give you something that would eventually destroy your peace. You thought I was withholding. I was protecting. You thought I was delaying. I was preparing. You thought I was ignoring your prayers. I was answering them in a way you could not yet understand. My child, there are moments when my greatest act of love is not giving you what you ask for. Sometimes my greatest act of love is saying no, not because I want to hurt you, not because I want to punish you, but because I can see beyond the horizon of your understanding. A child does not always understand why a loving father says no, but the father sees dangers the child cannot see. In the same way, I saw roads that would have drained your spirit. I saw people who would have wounded your heart. I saw decisions that would have led you away from the destiny I created for you. And so I intervened, not to harm you, but to preserve you. Even now, some of you listening are grieving over something that never happened. You are grieving over a relationship that ended, a promotion you didn't receive, a dream that seemed to collapse, a prayer that still appears unanswered. But what if the thing you are grieving was actually the thing I saved you from? What if the delay was mercy? What if the closed door was protection? What if the ending was actually a rescue? I want you to think about your life for a moment. How many times have you looked back and realized that something you desperately wanted would have been a disaster if you had received it? How many times have you thanked me for a door I once closed? How many times have you realized later that what felt like rejection was actually guidance? My child, the same truth applies to this season. You do not have the full picture yet, but I do. You only see today. I see tomorrow. You only see the chapter. I see the entire story. And because I see the story, I know exactly what is needed for your future. There were moments when you thought I had abandoned you because the answers did not come quickly. But I never abandoned you. I was walking beside you the entire time. I was shielding you from things you were not meant to carry. I was removing obstacles you could not see. I was positioning you for something greater. The enemy wanted you to believe that every disappointment was proof of my absence, but the truth is exactly the opposite. Many of your disappointments were evidence of my protection. Many of your delays were evidence of my wisdom. Many of your closed doors were evidence of my love. And one day, perhaps sooner than you think, you will look back at this season and understand why certain things had to end. You will understand why certain people had to leave. You will understand why certain prayers were delayed. You will understand why I refused to let you settle for less than what I prepared for you. Until then, trust me. Trust me when the door closes. Trust me when the answer takes longer than expected. Trust me when the path ahead seems unclear, because I have never abandoned you. Not once. Not for a single moment. The same hand that closed the wrong doors is preparing the right one. And when that door opens, you will finally understand that what felt like abandonment was actually protection all along. My beloved child, one of the hardest lessons for the human heart to learn is this: a delay is not always a denial. I know how many times you looked at your situation and wondered why things were taking so long. You prayed, you believed, you waited, and still the answer did not come when you expected it. You watched others move forward while you remained standing in the same place. You watched doors open for other people while yours remained closed. You watched dreams become reality for others while your own dreams seemed trapped in silence. And in those moments you began to wonder if I had forgotten you. But I need you to hear me clearly. I did not forget you. I was preparing you. The delay was never punishment. The delay was preparation. You wanted the blessing. I was building the person who could carry the blessing. You wanted the destination. I was developing the character required for the journey. You wanted immediate answers. I was creating lasting foundations. My child, many people ask for greater things without understanding the weight that greater things carry. A larger purpose requires deeper faith. A greater calling requires greater strength. A larger assignment requires a stronger spirit. Had I released everything you asked for the moment you requested it, you would not have been ready to sustain it. You would have received the promise without the preparation. And promises without preparation often become burdens. There were lessons you needed to learn. There was wisdom you needed to gain. There was healing that needed to take place within your heart. Because I care about more than giving you what you want. I care about making sure you can keep it once it arrives. Think about a tree for a moment. The strongest trees spend years developing roots before they ever display their full height. The growth beneath the surface happens long before the growth above the surface becomes visible. The world celebrates what it can see, but I focus on what nobody sees. While you were praying for visible progress, I was strengthening invisible roots. While you were asking for movement, I was creating stability. While you were asking for elevation, I was building depth. And now those roots are stronger than you realize. The trials you endured taught you things comfort never could. The waiting taught you patience. The heartbreak taught you compassion. The disappointments taught you dependence on me. The uncertainty taught you trust. You may not have enjoyed those lessons, but they transformed you. You are not the same person you were when this season began. You have grown. You have matured. You have developed spiritual muscles that could never have formed in an easier season. That is why the enemy fought so hard to convince you that the waiting was meaningless, because he knew something you did not. He knew you were becoming stronger. He knew you were becoming wiser. He knew you were becoming more prepared for what is coming. Every day you survived was another day of preparation. Every obstacle you overcame was another layer of strength being added to your life. Every prayer you continued to pray despite disappointment was evidence that your faith was becoming deeper. My beloved, I know you wanted answers sooner. I know you wanted relief sooner. I know you wanted breakthrough sooner. But if I had opened the door before you were ready, you would have walked into a blessing that your current season had not yet prepared you to handle. If I had fulfilled every desire immediately, some of those blessings would have crushed you beneath their weight. That is why I waited. Not because I was absent, not because I was indifferent, not because I ignored your prayers. I waited because I love you. I waited because I knew what was necessary. I waited because I could see the future version of you that was still being formed. There were pieces of your story that needed to come together. There were people who needed to enter your path. There were wounds that needed healing. There were fears that needed breaking. There were chains that needed falling. There were habits that needed changing. There were truths you needed to discover about yourself and about me. All of this was happening while you thought nothing was happening. Heaven was working in silence. The foundation was being laid. The pieces were being arranged. The timing was being aligned. And now, as you look back, you may begin to see small glimpses of what I was doing. You survived things that once looked impossible. You overcame obstacles that once seemed overwhelming. You developed strength you never knew you possessed. You became someone capable of carrying more than you ever imagined. That was not accidental. That was preparation. The delay was preparing you for something greater than what you originally asked for, because my plans have always been bigger than your expectations. My vision has always extended beyond your current understanding. And what I am bringing into your life will require the strength, wisdom, faith, and maturity that this season has been producing. So, stop measuring your life by what has not happened yet. Stop assuming that silence means inactivity. Stop believing that waiting means failure. The delay was never wasted. Every day had purpose. Every struggle had meaning. Every moment was shaping you. And soon you will realize that what felt like a long delay was actually a divine investment in your future. Because the blessing that is coming is not only worth the wait, you are finally becoming the person prepared to receive it. My beloved child, there is something I need you to understand about the battles you have faced. The enemy did not attack you because you were weak. He attacked you because he saw something valuable. He attacked what he feared most. For so long you believed the struggles in your life were proof that something was wrong with you. You wondered why the attacks seemed relentless, why the disappointments came one after another, why the pressure never seemed to let up, why every time you started moving forward, something appeared to stand in your way. But what if those battles were revealing something entirely different? What if the intensity of the attack was connected to the importance of your purpose? The enemy studies patterns. He watches potential. He recognizes what many people fail to see. Long before you recognized the calling on your life, the enemy saw signs of it. Long before you understood your purpose, he feared it. Long before you realized how powerfully God could use you, he was already trying to stop you. That is why some of your greatest battles began before some of your greatest breakthroughs. The attack was never about your past. It was about your future. The enemy wasn't fighting who you were. He was fighting who you were becoming. He saw the strength that would emerge from your struggle. He saw the wisdom that would come from your wounds. He saw the faith that would grow from your waiting season. He saw the testimony that would be born from your pain. And because he feared what God was building inside you, he launched attacks designed to convince you to quit before you discovered it yourself. Think about how many times you came close to giving up. How many times discouragement whispered that your efforts were pointless. How many times fear told you that nothing would ever change. How many times disappointment convinced you that God had forgotten you. Those thoughts were not random. Those battles were not meaningless. The enemy understood something you did not yet understand. You carried more purpose than you realized. You carried more influence than you realized. You carried more potential than you realized. And he wanted to keep you blind to it. That is why some attacks seem so personal. That is why certain wounds cut so deeply. That is why some seasons felt unusually heavy. The enemy was not merely trying to hurt you, he was trying to distract you. If he could not destroy your destiny, he would attempt to delay it. If he could not stop God's plan, he would try to convince you to walk away from it. If he could not take your calling, he would try to weaken your confidence. My child, look back over your life. Notice the moments when you were closest to breakthrough. Notice the moments when you were about to grow. Notice the moments when you were preparing to step into something new. How often did resistance suddenly appear? How often did fear become louder? How often did unexpected obstacles emerge? That was not coincidence. The enemy often fights hardest when he senses change approaching. He becomes most aggressive when he sees God's promises moving closer to fulfillment. He wants you exhausted before the miracle arrives. He wants you discouraged before the door opens. He wants you to surrender before the victory appears. But despite every attack, you are still here. Despite every disappointment, you are still listening. Despite every attempt to break your spirit, your faith survived. And that matters more than you know, because every battle that failed to destroy you became part of your preparation. Every attack that failed to stop you became evidence of God's protection. Every storm that failed to drown you became proof of God's sustaining power. The enemy underestimated what God placed inside you. He thought the pressure would break you. Instead, it strengthened you. He thought the waiting would weaken your faith. Instead, it deepened it. He thought the setbacks would make you quit. Instead, they taught you perseverance. What was meant to destroy your confidence ended up building your character. What was meant to bury your purpose ended up revealing it. What was meant to silence your testimony is becoming the very story that will inspire others. My beloved, you are stronger than you realize. Not because of your own power, not because of your own determination, but because I have been sustaining you through every battle. I have been your shield when you could not see me. I have been your defender when you felt exposed. I have been your strength when your own strength failed. And now the enemy is losing ground. The lies are being exposed. The fear is losing its grip. The discouragement is losing its power. Because the truth is rising. The truth that you were chosen. The truth that you were called. The truth that your story is not ending in defeat. The truth that every battle served a purpose. One day you will look back and realize something extraordinary. The greatest evidence of your calling was not the absence of opposition. It was the presence of it. Because the enemy only attacks what he fears. And what he feared most was the person you are becoming through God's hands. The same person who is now standing closer to breakthrough than ever before. If this message is speaking to your heart right now, don't ignore what you're feeling. That stirring inside you is not an accident. Perhaps this is the confirmation you've been praying for. Perhaps this is the reminder heaven knew you needed today. If you believe God is still working in your life, even in the waiting, take a moment and type, Jesus, I will not give up. Let that be your declaration of faith. And if this message has encouraged you, be sure to subscribe and join this growing family of believers. Every day, we gather here to receive God's word, strengthen our faith, and remind one another that we are never alone. Most importantly, stay with me until the end, because what God is about to reveal next may be exactly the breakthrough your spirit has been waiting to hear. Your story is not over. In many ways, it is only beginning. My beloved child, one of the greatest struggles of faith is trusting me when you cannot see what I am doing. You live in a world that values visible results. People want immediate answers, immediate progress, immediate evidence. But much of my greatest work happens where human eyes cannot see. And that is exactly what has been happening in your life. While you were wondering whether I had forgotten you, I was working behind the scenes. While you were questioning the silence, I was arranging the details. While you were looking at closed doors, I was preparing new ones. You saw stillness. I saw movement. You saw delay. I saw alignment. You saw confusion. I saw a masterpiece slowly coming together. My child, there were conversations taking place that you knew nothing about. There were opportunities being formed that had not yet reached your door. There were people I was positioning in your path. There were lessons I was teaching others before they would eventually cross your life. Nothing has been random. Nothing has been forgotten. Nothing has been delayed without purpose. Many times you looked at your circumstances and concluded that nothing was changing. But heaven does not measure progress the same way the world does. Some of the most important changes happen underground before anything becomes visible above the surface. A seed does not appear to be doing anything while buried in the soil. Yet, beneath the ground, life is already forming. Roots are spreading. Strength is developing. Growth is happening. The same has been true for you. Even when you felt stuck, growth was happening. Even when you felt forgotten, preparation was happening. Even when you felt hidden, heaven was working. I know there were moments when discouragement tried to convince you that your prayers had accomplished nothing. You looked at your situation and saw the same problems, the same challenges, the same unanswered questions, and you wondered if anything would ever change. But my child, what you could not see was that every prayer was moving something. Every act of faith was creating momentum. Every moment of obedience was positioning you for the next chapter. I was never ignoring your prayers. I was answering them in ways that required time to unfold. Because some answers cannot arrive instantly. Some miracles require preparation. Some blessings require alignment. Some breakthroughs require circumstances to come together at exactly the right moment. I have been arranging those moments. I have been preparing those connections. I have been opening paths that were previously blocked. And even now, while you are listening to these words, things are moving in your favor. There are doors beginning to unlock. There are opportunities drawing closer. There are answers approaching that you cannot yet see. The enemy wanted you to interpret the silence as inactivity. He wanted you to believe that heaven was standing still. But heaven has never been standing still. I have been working continuously on your behalf. Every setback that seemed to delay you became part of the process. Every disappointment that seemed unnecessary became part of the preparation. Every detour that frustrated you became part of the journey. I have been weaving together details you could never have arranged on your own. And when everything comes together, you will realize why the timing had to be exactly what it was. You will understand why certain things could not happen sooner. You will understand why certain doors remained closed. You will understand why certain relationships ended. You will understand why the waiting season lasted as long as it did. Because everything was being aligned according to a purpose greater than your current understanding. My beloved, do not mistake silence for absence. Do not mistake waiting for abandonment. Do not mistake hidden progress for no progress. I am still working. I am still moving. I am still arranging what needs to be arranged. The same God who carried you through every battle is now preparing what comes after the battle. The same God who protected you through the storm is now preparing the harvest that follows the storm. The same God who sustained you through the waiting season is now preparing the season of fulfillment. You may not see everything yet, but you do not need to see everything to trust me. Soon enough, what has been hidden will become visible. What has been delayed will be released. What has been prepared in secret will be revealed openly. And when that day comes, you will look back on this season and realize something powerful. While you thought nothing was happening, heaven was working behind the scenes the entire time. My beloved child, whenever I prepare to move you into a new season, there are often signs that begin to appear before the full breakthrough arrives. Many people miss these signs because they are looking only for dramatic miracles. They expect thunder. They expect sudden changes. They expect instant transformation. But often, the first signs are much quieter. They begin deep within your spirit, and I want you to recognize them, because the season you have prayed for may be closer than you think. The first sign is this: the things that once consumed you no longer have the same power over you. The fears that once controlled your thoughts begin losing their grip. The wounds that once dominated your emotions start to heal. The battles that once felt overwhelming begin to feel smaller. You may not even notice it at first, but little by little, I begin replacing panic with peace, fear with faith, confusion with clarity. This is one of the first signs that a shift has already begun. The second sign is a growing sense of expectancy. You cannot fully explain it. Nothing around you may have changed yet. Your circumstances may look the same. Your challenges may still exist. Yet something inside you starts believing again. Hope begins to rise. Faith begins to awaken. The dreams you buried begin whispering once more. This is not wishful thinking. This is my spirit reminding you that your story is not finished. The third sign is that old doors begin to lose their attraction. Things you once chased desperately no longer satisfy you. The places you once wanted to go no longer seem important. The relationships that pulled you away from your purpose begin losing influence over your life. Why? Because I am preparing your heart for something greater. You cannot fully embrace the new season while remaining attached to the old one. And so, I begin changing your desires before I change your circumstances. The fourth sign is divine confirmation. You begin hearing the same message repeatedly. A scripture appears again and again. A conversation confirms what you have been sensing. A prayer is answered in an unexpected way. The same theme keeps appearing wherever you turn. These moments are not random. I often use confirmation to strengthen your faith before the breakthrough arrives, because I know how easily doubt tries to enter during seasons of transition. The fifth sign is increased resistance. This may surprise you. Many people assume that if change is coming, the battle should become easier. But often the opposite happens. The enemy senses movement before you do. He recognizes that something is shifting, and because of that he may increase his attacks. Discouragement becomes louder. Fear becomes more aggressive. Doubt becomes more persistent. But remember what I told you before. The enemy often fights hardest when he knows he is losing ground. Do not interpret resistance as failure. Sometimes resistance is evidence that you are closer than you realize. The sixth sign is an unusual hunger for my presence. You begin seeking me differently. Prayer feels more important. My voice becomes more precious. You desire peace more than distraction. You desire purpose more than comfort. You desire my will more than your own plans. This hunger is not accidental. It is preparation, because every new season requires deeper dependence upon me. My child, I want you to pay attention. Look beyond what your eyes can see. Look beyond what your circumstances are telling you. Something is changing. The heaviness that has followed you for so long is beginning to lift. The season of confusion is nearing its end. The season of preparation is producing fruit. The season of waiting is approaching fulfillment. You may not see the entire picture yet, but the signs are already appearing. The peace you feel, the hope returning, the confirmations arriving, the old desires fading, the spiritual hunger growing. These are not coincidences. These are signals. These are reminders that heaven is moving. These are whispers of a new chapter waiting just ahead. So do not lose heart now. Do not give up now. Do not turn back now. You have come too far. You have survived too much. You have prayed too long. You are standing closer to your breakthrough than you have ever been before, and the signs around you are announcing what heaven already knows. Your season is about to change. My beloved child, now that you are standing closer to your breakthrough than ever before, there is something you must be careful not to do. Do not let fear talk you out of your miracle. The enemy knows he cannot change the plans I have written for your life. He cannot erase the promises I have spoken. He cannot undo the purpose I placed within you. But what he will try to do is convince you to walk away from what I am preparing. He will try to use fear as his voice. Fear has always been one of his favorite weapons, because fear does not need to destroy your faith completely. It only needs to make you hesitate. It only needs to make you doubt. It only needs to make you wait one more day before taking the step I am calling you to take. My child, think about how fear operates. Fear always speaks about what might go wrong. It magnifies uncertainty. It exaggerates danger. It focuses on failure. It keeps your eyes fixed on the storm instead of the one who controls the storm. Fear says, "What if this doesn't work?" Faith says, "What if God is already making a way?" Fear says, "What if you fail?" Faith says, "What if God carries you through?" Fear says, "You are not ready." Faith says, "God has been preparing you all along." The reason fear feels so convincing is because it often sounds reasonable. It disguises itself as wisdom. It disguises itself as caution. It disguises itself as realism. But many times, what people call realism is simply fear wearing a different name. How many opportunities have been lost because fear was allowed to make the decision? How many dreams have remained buried because fear spoke louder than faith? How many people have stayed trapped in the familiar because they were afraid to trust me with the unknown? I do not want that to happen to you, because the miracle you have been praying for may require a step of faith. The door I open may require courage to walk through. The blessing I release may require trust to receive. And if fear is allowed to control your thoughts, you may miss what I have placed directly in front of you. The enemy understands this. That is why fear often becomes loudest right before breakthrough, right before the answer arrives, right before the opportunity appears, right before the season changes. The enemy begins whispering, "What if you're disappointed again? What if nothing changes? What if you are getting your hopes up for nothing?" My child, those whispers are designed to keep you standing still. But I did not create you to live imprisoned by fear. I created you to walk by faith. Remember all the battles you have already survived. Remember all the obstacles you have already overcome. Remember every season when you thought you would not make it through, yet here you are. The same God who carried you then is carrying you now. The same God who opened doors before can open doors again. The same God who provided in the past is able to provide once more. Do not allow yesterday's disappointments to define tomorrow's possibilities. Do not allow old wounds to prevent new blessings. Do not allow fear to become the author of your future. I am the author of your future, and I am writing a story far greater than fear can imagine. My beloved, courage does not mean the absence of fear. Courage means choosing to trust me even when fear is present. Courage means taking the next step even when you cannot see the entire path. Courage means believing my promises more than you believe your doubts. And that is exactly what I am asking of you now. Trust me. Trust me with the unanswered questions. Trust me with the uncertainties. Trust me with the future you cannot yet see. Because what lies ahead is greater than what lies behind. The miracle you have prayed for is worth the risk of believing again. The blessing you have waited for is worth the courage of taking one more step. The breakthrough you have hoped for is closer than fear wants you to know. So when fear begins to speak, remember who is speaking louder. Remember my promises. Remember my faithfulness. Remember my presence. And above all, remember this truth. Fear may be shouting, but heaven is calling. And if you listen carefully, you will hear my voice saying, "Do not be afraid, my child. Keep walking. Your miracle is closer than you think." My beloved child, there comes a moment in every journey when a person reaches a crossroads. Not an ordinary crossroads, a divine one. A moment when the choices you make begin shaping the next chapter of your life. I believe you are standing at one of those moments right now. You have not come this far by accident. You have not survived everything. You survived merely to remain where you are. The battles were preparing you. The waiting was preparing you. The delays were preparing you. And now you stand between what was and what will be. Behind you is the season that tested you. Ahead of you is the season that will reveal why the testing was necessary. This is why the enemy has worked so hard to keep you discouraged, because he knows you are standing closer to your next chapter than ever before. At every divine crossroads, there is a decision to make. Will you continue trusting me when you cannot see everything clearly? Will you move forward even when the entire path is not visible? Will you choose faith over fear? The truth is that I rarely reveal the whole journey at once. If I showed you every detail of your future, faith would not be necessary. Instead, I ask you to trust me one step at a time, one prayer at a time, one day at a time. This crossroads is not about having all the answers. It is about deciding who you will trust. Will you trust the voice of fear? Or will you trust the voice of the one who has carried you this far? Will you let past disappointments define your future? Or will you believe that I am still able to do something new? My child, many people miss their moment because they spend too much time looking backward. They replay old failures, old heartbreaks, old mistakes, old disappointments. And while they stare at closed doors behind them, they fail to notice the new door opening in front of them. Do not make that mistake. The season ahead cannot be entered while clinging to the season behind. There are things you must release. There are fears you must surrender. There are regrets you must place in my hands. You cannot carry yesterday's burdens into tomorrow's promise. The crossroads before you requires trust. It requires courage. It requires surrender. But it also carries incredible promise. Because on the other side of this decision is growth. On the other side of this decision is healing. On the other side of this decision is the fulfillment of things I have been preparing for longer than you realize. I know the future feels uncertain. I know there are still questions. I know there are details you do not yet understand. But remember this. You do not need to understand everything to trust me. You only need to know who is leading you. And I have never failed you. I was with you in the valley. I was with you in the waiting. I was with you in the storm. And I will be with you in the new season that is unfolding before you. So stand tall, my child. Lift your eyes. Take a deep breath. The crossroads is here. The choice is before you. Do not allow fear to keep you standing still. Do not allow doubt to make you turn back. This is your moment to step forward. This is your moment to trust again. This is your moment to believe that what I have promised is still possible. Because the path ahead was not created to harm you. It was prepared to lead you into everything I have been preparing for you all along. My beloved child, after everything you have endured, after every tear, every delay, every unanswered question, you have arrived at a moment that is more important than you realize. This is not just another day. This is not just another message. This is not just another ordinary moment in your life. This is the moment that changes your story. For so long, you have been looking at your life through the lens of what was lost. The doors that closed, the opportunities that disappeared, the prayers that seemed delayed, the people who walked away, the battles that left scars on your heart. But today, I want you to look at your story differently. I want you to stop focusing on what ended and begin focusing on what is beginning. Because the chapter that is opening before you carries more promise than the chapter you are leaving behind. The enemy spent years trying to convince you that your best days were behind you. He wanted you to believe that your failures defined you, that your mistakes disqualified you, that your disappointments were permanent. But those were lies. Your story was never meant to end in the valley. Your story was never meant to end in the waiting. Your story was never meant to end in heartbreak. Those seasons were chapters. They were not the conclusion. My child, every great story reaches a turning point. A moment when everything begins to change. A moment when the struggle starts making sense. A moment when the purpose behind the pain becomes visible. I believe you are approaching that moment now. Not because life will suddenly become perfect. Not because challenges will disappear overnight. But because your perspective is changing. Your faith is growing. Your trust is deepening. And your heart is becoming ready for what I have prepared. The same situations that once discouraged you will no longer control you. The same fears that once stopped you will no longer dominate you. The same wounds that once defined you will become part of your testimony. You are not the person you were when this journey began. You have been transformed through every battle, refined through every delay, strengthened through every storm. And now you stand at the edge of a new chapter. A chapter filled with hope. A chapter filled with growth. A chapter filled with opportunities that could not have existed without everything you have already been through. So do not look back with regret. Do not look back with bitterness. Do not look back wishing the journey had been easier. Instead, look forward with expectation. Look forward with faith. Look forward knowing that I have been writing a story greater than you could imagine. This is your turning point. This is your moment of decision. This is your moment to believe again. The page is turning. The old season is ending. The new season is beginning. And years from now, when you look back at this moment, you will realize that this was the place where everything started to change. This was the moment that changed your story. My beloved child, before this message comes to an end, I want to leave you with one final truth. One day, you will understand why you had to wait. Not today, perhaps not tomorrow, but there will come a moment when you look back over your journey and suddenly see what you cannot fully see right now. The pieces will come together. The questions will find their answers. The confusion will give way to clarity, and you will realize that I was working all along. You will understand why certain doors had to close, why certain people had to leave, why certain prayers took longer than you expected, why certain seasons felt so difficult. What feels confusing today will make sense tomorrow. What feels painful today will become part of your testimony. What feels unfinished today is still being written by my hand. My child, there are blessings that could only be appreciated because of the waiting. There is wisdom that could only be learned through the struggle. There is strength that could only be developed through the battle. And there is a relationship with me that could only be deepened through the seasons when you had nothing left to hold on to except faith. The waiting was never empty. The waiting was never meaningless. The waiting was never punishment. It was preparation. It was protection. It was transformation. Even now, while you are still walking through parts of the story you do not fully understand, I need you to trust me. Trust that I see the beginning and the end. Trust that I know exactly where I am leading you. Trust that every delay had a purpose. Trust that every tear mattered. Trust that every prayer was heard. One day you will look back and realize that what seemed like the hardest chapter of your life became the chapter that shaped you the most, the chapter that strengthened your faith, the chapter that revealed my faithfulness, the chapter that prepared you for everything that came next. So do not lose hope now. Do not stop believing now. Do not give up now. You are closer than you realize. The story is not over. The promise still stands. The breakthrough is still coming. And when the day arrives that you finally see the full picture, you will smile through grateful tears and say, "Now I understand. God was never late. God was never absent. God knew exactly what he was doing all along." Heavenly Father, we come before you with grateful hearts, thanking you for your unfailing love, your endless mercy, and your faithfulness through every season of our lives. Lord, for the person listening to this prayer right now, I ask that you fill their heart with peace. Remove every fear, every doubt, every burden that has weighed heavily upon them. Remind them that they are never alone, never forgotten, and never beyond the reach of your love. Father, strengthen their faith when they feel weak. Give them courage when uncertainty surrounds them. Help them trust your timing even when they cannot see the full picture. Let them rest in the assurance that you are working all things together for their good. Heal every wounded place within them. Restore what has been broken. Renew their hope and awaken fresh joy in their spirit. Open the doors that are part of your perfect plan and close every door that would lead them away from your purpose. Lord, let your presence surround them tonight and in the days ahead. Fill their home with peace, their mind with clarity, and their heart with confidence in your promises. We surrender our worries, our future, and our lives into your loving hands. In the mighty name of Jesus we pray. Amen. Before you leave, I want to invite you to make a declaration of faith. Not for me, not for this channel, but for your own heart, because there is power in speaking faith over your life. If this message touched you today, if you believe God is still working behind the scenes, even when you cannot see it, type these words in the comments. Jesus, I trust your timing. Let that be your declaration. Let it be your reminder that God has not forgotten you. Let it be your statement that fear will not have the final word. Let it be your way of saying, Lord, I choose faith over doubt, hope over fear, and trust over worry. And if this message encouraged you, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who may be struggling right now. You never know who needs this reminder today. Someone may be on the verge of giving up. Someone may be waiting for a sign. Someone may need to hear that God is still working. Remember, your story is not over. Your waiting season is not wasted. Your breakthrough is closer than you think. May God's peace surround you, His strength sustain you, and His favor go before you. Until next time, keep believing, keep praying, and keep trusting Him. God bless you.